Very good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Vijaya Sarathi Nambi. Today, UPSC Civil Services Examination Prelims got conducted on this 28th May, and I am going to discuss geography questions in that particular question paper. And when we observe, there were almost 13 questions from geography, and of those 13 questions, 4 questions relate to physical geography, 6 questions relate to economic geography, and 3 relate to map pointing. This is usually the way the division of questions happens every year. Probably one question of physical geography got skipped into economic geography. Otherwise, this is how, on an average, it happens. And most of the questions are also, luckily this time they are very straight and without a lot of confusion to the students. So we will look into the questions one after the other. Now, this is, consider the following statements. Jhelum River passes through Lake Wular. This is in Kashmir. And Krishna River directly feeds Kolleru Lake. Meandering of Gandak River formed Kanwar Lake. These are the 3 statements that are given. And of them, how many of the statements given above are correct? Jhelum River passes through Wular Lake is correct. It also feeds Wular Lake. And meandering of Gandak River formed Kanwar Lake. Even this is correct. But Krishna River directly feeds Kolleru Lake is a wrong statement, because Kolleru Lake is fed by 2 streams. One is Budameru and another one is Tamileru streams, and they feed Kolleru Lake. After that, they join Krishna River. So it is B. Only 2 is the answer. Next question is, consider the following pairs given. On one side you have ports, on the other side what they are known for, what they are famous for. And first port happens to be Kamarajar Port, and it says that first major port in India registered as a company, and this happens to be a correct statement. Mundra Port is largest privately owned port in India. This is also correct. But whereas the third statement about Visakhapatnam Port, which it has given as largest container port in India, it is wrong, because Jawaharlal Nehru Port, which we call it as JNPT in Nhava Sheva, and that happens to be the largest container port in Western Coast. So this third statement stands to be wrong. Hence, the answer is only 2 pairs, that is B. We'll go to next question. Consider the following trees: jackfruit, mahua, and teak. How many of the above are deciduous trees? Tropical deciduous trees are those, you all know that, which shed their leaves at the time of extreme summers in order to avoid evapotranspiration, to contain evapotranspiration. So second and third happens to be mahua, and teak happens to be such deciduous trees, whereas jackfruit is not a deciduous tropical tree. It's an evergreen tropical forest it relates to, and it is used both as a fruit bearing tree as well as its wood is consumed. So the answer happens to be B, that is only 2. Now, next question happens to be, consider the following statements. India has more arable area than China, which is absolutely correct. When it comes to India vis-a-vis China, much of the Indian mainland is cultivable and is favorable for agricultural activity. So arable area is more in India when compared to China. And China has a lot of mountainous as well as desert conditions in much areas, because of which it has less arable area. And also the proportion of irrigated area is more in India as compared to China is the second statement. And even this is correct. The proportion of irrigated area is more in India as compared to China. India fortunately has many irrigation facilities. So much of the area is under irrigation. That is almost, you can say 40% of Indian arable land is under irrigated area. But it is not the same with China. So second statement happens to be, it stands correct. The third one is the average productivity per hectare in Indian agriculture is higher than that in China. This is wrong. As far as the average productivity of India is concerned, it is 3.1 tons per hectare. Whereas as far as China is concerned, it is 6.5 tons per hectare, because of which we can comfortably say that the average productivity of China is more when compared to India. So this third statement happens to be wrong. Only 2 is the answer. So that is B. Next question is, which one of the following is the best example of repeated falls in sea level giving rise to present day extensive marshland? And you have optional options as Bitakarnika mangroves, Marackanam salt pans, Naupada swamp, and Rann of Kutch. Of the 4, Rann of Kutch is one place which is prone for both submergence and emergence of land on a more frequent basis. Hence, the answer happens to be D, Rann of Kutch. And next question is, ilmenite and rutile, abundantly available in certain coastal tracts of India, are rich sources of which one of the following? That is, he has given 4 metals, and he is asking which one is more abundant or in coastal tracts of India. Aluminium, copper, iron, and titanium, and the answer is D. Next question is about 3/4 of world's cobalt, a metal that is required for the manufacture of batteries for electric motor vehicles, is produced here nowadays. You know that EVs have become now the talk of the town for automobile industry. So this question is related to that also. You can correlate this geography question to current affairs also, of course. So Argentina, Botswana, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Kazakhstan. Answer happens to be C, Congo. Next question is, which one of the following is a part of the Congo Basin? And this is related to map pointing. Cameroon, Nigeria, South Sudan, Uganda, and the answer happens to be answer A, Cameroon. Next question is, consider the following statements, and the statements are, Amarkantak Hills are at the confluence of Vindhya and Sahyadri ranges. Actually, they are not at the confluence of Vindhya and Sahyadri ranges. Amarkantak Hills are at the confluence of Vindhya and Satpura ranges. So this statement is wrong. And Bilgiri Rangan Hills, which are part of Karnataka, constitute the easternmost part of Satpura range. This is wrong. They don't constitute easternmost part of Satpura range. Rather, they are in Western Ghats. And Sheshachalam Hills, which otherwise are also renowned as Tirupati and the Tirumala Hills. They are part of the Sheshachalam Hills. They constitute the southernmost part of Western Ghats is wrong, because these hills are part of Eastern Ghats. So none of the statements given above are correct. So the answer happens to be D, none. Now next question is, with reference to the Earth's atmosphere, which one of the following statements is correct? And the statements are, the total amount of insolation received at the equator is roughly about 10 times of that received at the poles. Actually, everybody thinks that equator receives highest amount of insolation. Now there is no doubt that equator receives direct insolation, that it is overhead insolation, but at the same time, because of high amounts of evaporation happening at equator, so when you talk about effective insulation, tropical areas get more effective insulation when compared to equatorial area. So the total amount of insulation received at the equator is roughly about 10 times of that received at the poles is a wrong statement, because it is almost 5 times. If we want to compare, it is not 10 times. So that data is double. So statement A is not correct. And second one, infrared rays constitute roughly 2/3 of insulation. Now it is actually 49%. Over here he is saying 2/3. 2/3 almost means 70%, which is wrong. So statement B is also wrong. And let's talk about the fourth one. Infrared waves are a part of visible spectrum of electromagnetic waves of solar radiation. No. In a remote also, we cannot see the passing of infrared rays. So they are part of spectrum of electromagnetic waves, but they are not part of visible spectrum of electromagnetic waves. Hence, even D is wrong. So thus, your infrared waves are largely absorbed by water vapor that is concentrated in the lower atmosphere. Happens to be correct. If you say that is water vapor the major component that absorbs the infrared rays, infrared waves, then it is wrong. But over here he is not comparing water vapor with anything else. So the statement as it is correct. Hence the option is C. Next question is, consider the following statements. Statement number 1, the soil in tropical rainforests is rich in nutrients. Statement 2 is, the high temperature and moisture of tropical rainforests cause dead organic matter in the soil to decompose quickly. See, this is a very cunning question, and most of the students make a mistake in this. It is a slippery question, I should say, because the first statement looks to be correct, but it is not. We know that tropical rainforests are known for high insulation as well as very high precipitation, that is rainfall. So obviously there is the second statement also talks about it, the high temperature and moisture of tropical rainforests cause dead organic matter in the soil to decompose quickly. And to an extent, yes, we accept this also. There is no problem. This statement is absolutely correct in fact. But only thing is, we should not forget that tropical rainforests have so much of rainfall that it immediately gets washed off, as it doesn't get concentrated over there. Humus. Basically, we are talking about humus and dead decomposed material that is strewn over the surface in the tropical rainforest area. So what happens is, though the soil in tropical rainforests is prone to get more nutrients, but because of more rainfall, the nutrients get washed off, and that is the reason why the soil in tropical rainforests is called as nutrient poor soil. This is one reason why we cannot take the first statement that the soil in tropical rainforests is rich in nutrient. It is poor in nutrients. And which one of the following is correct in respect to the above statements? Then the answer should be D, wherein statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. And consider the following statements, that is, the temperature contrast between continents and oceans is greater during summer than in winter. This is statement number 1. Statement number 2 is, the specific heat of water is more than that of land surface. See, let's first talk about statement number 1. The temperature contrast between continents and oceans, as a matter of fact, there is always a contrast between the temperatures of oceanic waters and temperatures of continent, because continents get heated up quickly and they get cooled quickly. when compared to the waters. So this variation always exists on a daily basis, on a seasonal basis, and on an annual basis. So diurnal range of temperatures exist, and your seasonal range of temperatures also exists. That is the reason why you have winds that blow on a daily basis either way. That is sea winds and sea breezes and land breezes. And the second one is the specific heat of water is more than that of land surface. To an extent also this is correct. This statement holds validity because it is true that water retaining the heat for a longer period when compared to the land. So now coming to this, the answer is A, wherein both statement 1 and 2 are correct, and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1, as it is talking about water retaining heat for a more period of time, and that's resulting in the temperature contrast between continents and oceans. And consider the following statements. This is the next question. In a seismograph, P waves are recorded earlier than S waves. Yes, there is no doubt. Longitudinal waves are primary waves. They travel more faster when compared to the secondary waves, and they travel through both media, that is through solid and liquid. Both states, they do travel, but when it comes to secondary, they don't travel through non-solid. They travel only through solid. The second statement is in P waves, the individual particles vibrate to and fro in the direction of wave propagation. Otherwise, we can say parallel propagation, which is correct. Whereas in S waves, the particles vibrate up and down the right angles, that is perpendicular to the direction of wave propagation. Even this is absolutely correct. So both 1 and 2 are correct. It is C. C is the answer. So students, this was in brief discussion of those 13 questions that are related to today's prelims geography component. And yes, I can proudly say that out of this 13, 10 questions were from the notes given by our institute IASBABA. So I wish you all the best for the endeavors and wish you will come out with flying colors for your mains. Thank you. Thank you one and all.